Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today, I am joined by Marlee Maendler from Solventum. With more than 2 decades in the orthodontic industry, Marylee has seen the evolution of materials, digital workflows, and practice systems firsthand. From her early days at 3M Unitech to Solventum's transition into a standalone company, she brings a unique perspective on how manufacturers can move beyond products and become true consultative partners. In this episode, we're talking about innovation, digital orthodontics, supporting startups, and why focusing on practice systems matters more than ever. So let's get started. This episode was brought to you by Gray Finch. Hey docs, if your new patient follow-up depends on someone remembering, it's leaking revenue. Gray Finch automates new patient follow-up, texts and emails go out automatically, and your treatment coordinator just checks their tasks list to see what needs a quick call or a more personalized message. That is one of the many reasons I recommend everyone take a look at Gray Finch. It isn't just a follow-up tool, it's a complete practice management software built to help you grow and scale. Stop leaking revenue and get $500 off your startup fee with the Jill Allen special at grayfinch.com/Jill Allen. Marylee, I am so excited to have you on Hey Docs. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm very excited too.
Yes. I would love it. The way I love to start off Hey Docs, especially when I have guests that have not been on the podcast before, is I would love it if you would just take a moment and just talk to us about your career journey and how you got into orthodontics and just what you are doing in our orthodontic space right now.
I would love to do that. It's been an interesting journey. I would love to say that when I was 8 years old, I knew I was going to be a orthodontic sales rep. It didn't work out that way, but I really lucked out. I'm telling you, this is the greatest profession on the planet. I live here in Northeast Ohio. So I grew up here. I went to school here. And I was a science girl. My dad was actually a real scientist. He was a research chemist. He had a PhD. And so I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. So I really loved the sciences. I actually went to school for biology, ended up loving organic chemistry, said no one I know, but I loved it. And so I decided to be a chemist, not really sure how much schooling I was going to continue, but got my degree. I actually did an internship at 3M all the way in Minnesota before I graduated college. So that was my first entrance into the big girl world. And what was interesting there is, first of all, I didn't know much about 3M being in Ohio, but I knew some of the brands. I just didn't know what the company did. Post-it notes and Scotch tape and the sandpaper and all of those things that, from a consumer, we know about. The only thing I knew about Minnesota was that Prince grew up there, and I was a big Gen X, Prince fan, your purple microphone. That must be a tribute. So I ventured off to Minnesota for a summer, came back, graduated, and just by total luck, 2 people talking on an airplane, the way life goes, somebody had a job opening. The other person knew me from my summer work, and I started with 3M. So right out of college, drove my 12 and a half hours in my little Dodge Charger and started my career as a chemist in a manufacturing plant. So what was great about that, I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do because I was starting to find myself be more of a people person. But that gave me so much exposure to what 3M did in all the different businesses. So to be able to manage products in a lab, I worked with engineers. So I understood what processes were and the importance of tight processes and specs and procedures. So I learned about that. I learned about all the different businesses that my products went into. And it also gave me exposure, which is how life goes. It's the context, it's the people you meet, to venture into new businesses new businesses of 3M. So I went from there to, have you heard of Scotchgard, like carpet
Mhm.
protector? With
Yeah.
Scotchgard, I was in that lab, so still in the lab doing some quality and branding and things like that. Then got to meet some other people at 3M, moved to another lab building. Now I'm in technical service. This is now my first like real, I'm responsible for customers now. So I'm working with a sales rep. I'm still not in sales yet, but I'm really opening the door to how do I solve problems for customers. So we had our products that were used in their process, very similar to orthodontics. And I had to help them tighten those processes and specs and procedures, and really on the technical side. And then after that, really knowing that I wanted to do more with customer facing role, I went into marketing. I had somebody that said, hey, we'll pay for your marketing degree, go back to school. Then I was running like a fluoropolymer additives business. So still not in ortho. I'm 14 years in now. And I wanted to get back home, back to Ohio. So I had two small kids. I was married and I wanted to restart my life back. Now, this is before remote. There was no such thing as remote work. If there was not an office or a position in Ohio, you had to go somewhere else. So they actually created a role for me to keep me with the company, which was amazing. Moved back to Ohio and really then decided I'm done with the chemicals business. 3M's had so many other businesses. I wanted to get into healthcare. And lo and behold, that timing, there was a position open for a 3M Unitech orthodontic sales position in Northeast Ohio, which is where I'm at. So Columbus, Cleveland, covering two universities, Case Western, Ohio State. And I somehow convinced them that because I wore braces for 5 years, I was qualified. So I didn't really have a sales position, but please hire me because I want to get into healthcare. And this sounds like a cool position. And that's where it all began. It's been 24 years that I've been in ortho. I love it. I loved being a sales rep on the ground. The people I have met, orthodontists they're brilliant, they're creative. I love the aspect of the business side and the clinical side. I love working with teams. I know this was where I was going to land for a career. And then just after 14 years of being on the ground, a position opened up for a regional leader. And then about 7 months ago, hasn't even been a year yet, I got the sales director position. So now I have 75 like sales leaders and sales reps across US and Canada. You, of course, got to attend our first kickoff sales meeting. That was my first time in that position. Made it through that in the cold of Minnesota, but it's been absolutely phenomenal. 3M Unitech, when I started, and everybody knows that brand name, we were a wholly owned subsidiary run as a separate company based in Monrovia, California. That's where our manufacturing was and is today. Back then, we made brackets and adhesives, Victory brackets, Clarity Advanced brackets. People know these brand names, Nitinol wires, Transbond adhesives. And now we make Clarity aligners, Clarity digital bonding, retainers, all of that still in Monrovia. But now we're a bigger part of a bigger organization. So in 2015, we came together with our dental side. So 3M Unitech and 3M SB became 3M Oral Care. That was back 2015. And we ran as a business there under 3M Healthcare. And in 2023, 3M announced that they were spinning off healthcare into a new standalone healthcare company. So now, as of April 1st, 2024, we are a new healthcare standalone medical technology company called Solventum, about to celebrate our 2-year anniversary on April 1st.
That is awesome. Wow, what a journey and just how exciting. I think life is so interesting and it's just fun to this is one of my favorite parts about doing Hey Docs and getting
Yeah, yeah.
to talk to different people is it is just so amazing where life leads us and the doors that open. And I'm sure if you look back and you probably didn't think you'd be where you're at right now. And it's just so amazing, like the choices that we make in life to go to the left, go to the right, open this door, close this door, and where you're at now. And also, and this is what I really want to talk about too, is just how fun it is. I've been in the industry for, it's crazy to say, way over 30 years now. My business 20 now, we're celebrating 20 years this month,
Congratulations.
which is crazy. And I think about what a presence 3M Unitech has had in our orthodontic industry. I can remember being that newbie just 20 plus years ago on
Yeah.
the floor of these dental conventions, and 3M was just this huge company. That was the conferences, sorry guys, were way different 20 years ago. I mean, they were
Way.
big deals.
Big parties. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun even to just see how companies change. And that's why I wanted to have you on, Marylee, is to talk about this transition that happened in 2024. Because for some of us who have been in the industry for a while, there was maybe, I'll call it, maybe a dark period where we had 3M that was a big presence, and then it
Mm.
went quiet for a while, and then Solventum came back on the scene. But I think everybody was a little bit like, okay, is this 3M? Is this, what does that name mean?
Right.
And so I would love it if you would, let's just talk about that for a minute. And then I want to talk about just the vision of, because I think you guys have really seen and have a vision on, okay, how are we going to work digital, but yet still work with our tried and true systems and meet the orthodontic practices, especially our newer docs, where they're at now, and give them a solution for that. So first, let's start with the name. Tell me,
Yes.
talk about that.
Okay, so I'll go back to 3M for a second. So 3M, if everybody knows, they're science applied to life. So they're a very science technology focused company. They play in consumer, so all the Post-it notes and those brand names, command strips that we know. But they also have industrial, which I was a part of, electronics, big businesses, and they had healthcare. So they decided in 2023 it's best to spin off healthcare to its own separate entity. They didn't sell us, they spun us off to our own separate standalone healthcare company. So 3M stays 3M, and they get to focus on all their big businesses. We are now Solventum. So the name, because then I hope you'll remember it from there, solving with momentum. Solventum.
Yes,
And when
I love that.
so when I say that now, finally, people are like, what was it called again? They're like, okay, I got it now. Solving with momentum. It's a healthcare medical technology company that only focuses on healthcare now. So we are in a better position now to invest, to be a little bit more nimble and agile and much more focused on the healthcare industry. And for us, of course, it's orthodontics. So focused on what the doctors need, what the patients need. We have a mission, a promise. We're always solving for our customers. We've always done that. I explained what I did in my former jobs, but now it's focused on healthcare. We're a bigger part of a smaller company. So this company, Solventum, and it looks different, right? It's green. You don't see the red anymore, but now we're part of just healthcare. So we've got dental solutions, which is ortho and dental, and then health information systems, which is software, AI, analytics, those type of communications between doctor and patient. And then we have medical surgical. So that's a bigger division. Wound care management. They just did an acquisition also in that space. But now orthodontics has much more focused because we're a smaller company, more investment, quicker investment, but we're still have all of the things that you need in resources for a big company. All that technology came with us. All those brands came with us, the Clarity brand, the Nitinol brand, the Transbond brand, pre-coated brackets. The people are the same. And we've got brilliant people in R&D, manufacturing. We just moved. So manufacturing stayed in Monrovia. We moved everybody to St. Paul or Egan, where you were at. But now we can be more focused. And it's been, whenever you separate from a company, there's some bumps in the road, which is probably what you were referring to, brand name and our recognition. And we had a hard time saying 3M, wait, Solventum, formerly 3M. But now, 2 years later, we are just locked in. Everyone is so excited because we're like a startup company. For me, I had 35 years at 3M before this adventure. To be able to have such a great experience with a company that was around over 100 years that really had a brand in all spaces, especially orthodontics, to now creating a new brand. It's the same company, technology, people, same focus. It's so much fun, especially for me at this stage of my career, to be in a startup company. Like, who gets that? But we're a $8.5 billion company. We've got 20,000 plus employees globally. We're not a small company, but now we're totally focused on healthcare, doctors, orthodontics, patient care. It's just super exciting. And I like the green, actually. I really like the green.
That's
I look
great.
better in green than red. I'm not a red color girl. Yeah, so
It goes better with the skin. It goes better with the
it
skin.
does. It does. Exactly. Exactly. Very important. Very important.
Yeah. So let's talk about when I'm working with startup practices and a lot of my younger docs. The thing that we are really focusing on now is our systems and how do we work digital into our practices? Because it really is for us about being as efficient as we can with the treatment that we are providing. And, what I am seeing as we look at the future of orthodontics is we are going to have these offices that are really lean, mean machines. We're going to have core employees in core positions. We're going to be really dialed into understanding our profit per visit when it comes to our treatment planning and just really being dialed in from the beginning with our startup practices. And a lot of times with my clients, we're picking our bracket system not just because it's something that they might have used in a school setting, but because how is it going to help me be as efficient as I can? Or we're picking our aligner system because we feel comfortable with the outcomes that we're going to get. We're all of that. And so I would love it if you and I can dive into this a little bit because you've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. And I really want to get your thoughts on what this means for practices, if they're working with Solventum or not, just in and what that where you guys are focusing and what you think doctors should be thinking about when we are looking at systems versus products.
Yes, exactly. And I love hearing you talk about efficiency and systems. It's something we've always been known for, even when maybe doctors and practices weren't necessarily thinking that way. The best way to think about products, I think, as sales reps, doctors think we're there to sell them a product, right? That's usually the first impression.
That is part
And
of your
that
title.
it is part of the title, and I get it. But really, if that products don't live in isolation, they have to be part of not just a protocol, but an entire system in a practice, especially in orthodontic practice. Because if you don't have good processes and systems, things fall apart, brackets come off, it's stressful in the practice, the patient doesn't have a good experience. So very important. And probably I'm going to use bonding as an example because every practice bonds every day. We're bonding brackets, even if it's direct or digital indirect, or we're bonding attachments, or we're rebonding, or we're repositioning. So if you don't have good bonding systems in place, it's not going to be a fun day. So if I could use an example, like, and I'll just use our product, Transbond. So everybody knows Transbond. Adhesive, bracket adhesive comes in a syringe. It's a good product. It's got good properties. What do we care about? Bond strength, what it feels like, shear bond strength, how easy it is to clean flash, all of those things. And when you use a Transbond adhesive, you take a bracket, you put the adhesive on the back of the bracket, you place the bracket, you clean the flash, you cure it. Okay, so that's your process.
Yep.
Now let me compare that to pre-coated brackets and flash free. So that product has the same shear bond strength as the Transbond. So it's not that the product standalone is better, it's the process and the efficiency of how you get that bonded bracket on the patient. So now you take a flash-free pre-coated bracket out of a sealed blister, chair side, the doctor, tooth is already prepped, hand the bracket to the doctor puts the bracket on the tooth, positions it, cures it. No cleaning flash, no repositioning, done. So now you step back and say, okay, is this bond stronger with flash free than the Transbond? It's more about the process. So if there are so many variables in that first scenario that could go wrong? What if the bracket was compromised? What if there was contamination? What if the assistant took the gloved finger and tried to push the adhesive into the mesh base, which happens? Right. What if there is too much adhesive and too much flash, and now the bracket is wonky? What if there's not enough adhesive? How do you make that consistent chair to chair, bracket to bracket? Really difficult to do. So it's not that the bond is stronger in the flash free, but if I reduce a process to 5 steps versus 11 or 12 steps, it's less opportunity for something to go wrong. That's efficiency of systems. And that's what we've been doing that for a long time. But if you think about way back 20 years when I started, we didn't have flash free at the time, but we had pre-coat, but everything came down to the bracket for bracket. And we used to always say, but look at the system, look at the process and the procedure. You can make the same case for aligner attachments, right? There's a process for that. You can have an adhesive in a syringe, and we've got something called grip, which is our preloaded attachments. But if you distill it down to the product, we have clarity attachment material. It's a composite that goes in an attachment tray. That has good properties. It's durable, it's stain resistant, all the things that you want in an attachment composite. But look at the process. You could overfill that tray. You could underfill that tray. You could cause unwanted flash in your attachment. That causes the doctor to have to go grind flash off the patient. So that's doctor time. What if that flash causes that aligner now to press on the tooth in a different way, that now it doesn't give the same predictable tooth movement? Whereas a preloaded, pre-printed, fully cured attachment in the end has the same property: durable, stain resistant, abrasion resistant, but now it's already in the tray. I seat the tray, I cure that, and now I just can remove the tray and have my attachments on. So again, it's not about the product standalone, it's the process, it's the efficiency. Right. And I know your audience is startup practices, and we do a lot of bonding, lunch and learns and training. I think that's the opportunity that a startup has. Be efficient from the start. Absolutely. Don't just look at the product and the cost of the product and then make a decision. If you're efficient from day one, you won't need as much staff. Mention, staff. That has changed over the past 20 years. I used to go into offices that were 28 staff. They had multiple chairs. I go in that same office today because of digital, and there's 14. And they've grown, and they've added a second location. And that's what's exciting about this. If you and other consultants are talking about efficiency, that's exactly what we should be talking about. How do you make the day-to-day easier, less stressful, less things that could go wrong in a practice? So I love hearing that you're talking about that.
Yeah. And now a word from the sponsors who make this podcast possible. Are you thinking about opening an orthodontic practice? I know, it's a big decision, but saving 25% on the ADEC equipment you need to get started, that's an easy one. Because ADEC has a special program called Smart Start, designed to help you launch your first practice. You get up to 25% off your ADEC orthodontic equipment and furniture. You also get complimentary services to help you run and grow your business. And my favorite part, access to the Smart Start pricing for 2 whole years after you open your doors. That gives you flexibility to add more chairs as your cash flow grows. It's pretty smart. As an orthodontist, you care about getting all the little details right, and ADEC really got it right with this program. So if starting off with a big savings on ADEC equipment sounds good to you, the ADEC Smart Start is definitely worth a closer look. Just follow the link in the show notes to learn more. Hey docs, let's talk about Smile Suite, because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at GetSmileSuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite, because every smile deserves a suite of excellence. And for any of my clients that are listening, or any doctors that may not be clients, one of the things, and just to build on that, is I always tell my younger docs when we're getting started in our practices, there is never a better time to work on your systems than when you are a startup or in those younger years of a practice. A lot of times we think, oh, I'm slow. You're
Right.
building up your momentum. And docs, if you can understand your processes, and again, this goes back to that value per visit, and we can really understand the importance of, I can see somebody back 18 times with 4 ER
Yep.
visits, or I can see them back 15 times with maybe 1 ER visit or whatnot. You are going to be more profitable when you look at that case and you say, gosh, I finished up in 15 visits and only one of them had to do with something that could have been a procedural thing. We know patients are patients, and there will
Right.
never be a practice where they're like, I never have broken brackets. Sorry, but you got
Yeah.
you
Well,
got human patients.
they say that, but then you ask the front desk and they're like, no, we have broken
Yeah.
brackets. Yeah. You may not see them, but we get them. So
But
yes,
I think
absolutely.
the bigger thing is identifying the processes that are getting us to that point where we may have. And I think a lot of times we can say, if we've got that dialed in, that's where we're going to be so efficient. And I would love it if, I know you guys are like everybody, where the digital orthodontics, digital workflows are really our hot buzzwords right now. And I'm gonna say, when I in the past have thought about 3M or Solventum, I think fixed
Mhm.
old school
Unitech.
exactly, brackets, which is what
Yeah.
was gold standard in the past. And I think still you guys are gold standard with that. But I want you to talk about just your maybe the vision shift, or how you guys are leaning into what digital means for you, because I think that's where people need to have an
Hmm.
understanding that it isn't old school fixed twin or old
Right.
school whatever it is. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys are leaning into digital and how that impacts practices now.
And digital is not a trend. It's not the future of orthodontics. It's here. It's now. It's already happening. So again, I love that younger practices and that generation are looking at this. And typically when I'm at the universities, we hear that from residents. I want to be all digital. When I get out, I want to be all digital. So they've embraced it. It's the ones that started in that traditional, I hate to call it analog, but I hear people call it that have a hard time because their systems are built around analog, traditional, and now they're trying to get the efficiencies, and it's harder, right? When you start. So you've got a unique position. When I look at digital, and first of all, we've been in digital since 2018. So we introduced our Clarity liners in 2018. And I'll say digital, I think there's 4 pillars now to digital. It's the aligners, it's the digital braces or indirect digital bonding, it's retention, which we can't forget about, and then it's patient monitoring. And I'll go back to retention for a second. I'll see some practices that are really trying to move into this digital space, and they're doing everything digital. They're incorporating, they've changed all their systems. Maybe they're even doing things on their website and layering other digital surfaces. And then they say, but we do in-house retainers and we need to give them same day as soon as we debond the brackets. So then we do a physical impression and we go back to the lab, and I'm like, wait a minute. And my comparison is, I just went to this grand restaurant and I had this beautiful meal and I loved every single bite. And then you came by with a bad cup of cold coffee and that was it. That's the end of my experience. I'm like, no, that can be digital too. So really thinking about, how do I incorporate digital. We've invested more in digital as Solventum, and I mentioned that health information systems. And so we've got a lot of technology. We take a lot of technology, not only in that machine learning and that space, but we're a materials company, we're a film company, we're a manufacturing technology company. So we have the benefit of not just being the standard in the traditional brackets, bands, wires, adhesives, but also now in the digital space and even combining those two ecosystems. So having the ability to have clarity aligners, digital bonding, using flash-free brackets. So we're using some of the technology that we use for direct bond. We've got retainers that you can scan, digitally remove appliances, get a retainer in a week in a case delivered directly to the patient. That's the way to see things. And then now we have, I think the patient monitoring thing is interesting. I don't know how much your clients talk about that.
A lot.
Yeah.
Using it a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's so funny because what are we, 6 years now? 6 years ago, obviously, some practices adopted it because they had to. They couldn't see patients. And so they looked at it as a temporary Band-Aid that I need virtual.
Yeah.
And a lot of them stepped away from it. Again, this newer generation, I don't know if it's millennial moms that are the patient, but they look at things differently. How do I use technology not to make care infrequent, but to make it more touch points and more meaningful and a higher quality of care? I think that's fascinating. And I don't know about you, but I was from Gen X. I was from the generation that like, no, you pick up the phone, you call the practice, you you go into the practice, you sit with them. I want to wait in your reception area. I want to go talk to you. And man, it has changed. The ability to now see my provider on a screen, just her and I talking through, sharing results. I love it. I feel more connected than I would if I was sitting in a practice. So I think and I don't know if you're seeing this in different generations, but the mind shift of digital has to be more than just speed. So there is an efficiency, but it's also how does the patient want to be managed? So if you give a patient side by side, hey, we're going to bond these brackets today. It's going to be a 2-hour appointment. We're going to see you every 6 weeks. We'll get done in whatever the gauge says, we think it's 24 months, but it's 27 months. You're going to come here 20 times. You're going to have a beautiful result. Versus I say, as a new practitioner in a new area, trying to differentiate my market, we use technology here and we use technology to give you better care. We are going to put your braces on digitally. I'm going to scan you today. We're not going to put your braces on. You're going to come back in 2 weeks. I'm going to put those braces on. And mom, you may not have seen this before, but we can put these braces on in one arch at a time, full arch. So bonding goes really quick. We get the bracket exactly where we need it because we're using digital. And when we do this, typically your treatment is going to be more efficient. You're going to come here less often. And we partner with Grin in our portal, but here's this Grin scope. And now in between visits, we're going to have your child or you scan for 1 minute. It'll connect with the app. That app will go to our portal and we're able to manage your care in between appointments. It's not skipping appointments, it's better care. And if you look at the efficiency of all those systems and what we can do for patients and how we can differentiate, you really got to look at all of it. And I think it doesn't mean when I talk to new offices that are setting up, it doesn't mean that you have to adopt everything at once and use these brackets and you got to do this much aligners, this much digital bonding. However you want to do it, it's choices, it's customization. It's telling the patient you can have ceramic braces, digital bonding, you can have metal. We have self-ligating, we can use that. We can use aligners. We can combination treat where upper aligners, lower digital bonding. Everything is in one system, and that gives power and control to the practitioner to really provide the care with us because we have everything. We don't require certain volumes to get a certain discount. It's all one system. You get to choose the treatment modality that's best for your patient. Very exciting time. And it's just fun because some are so open. I want everything digital. Help us do this. And others are like, I want the efficiencies of that, but I don't want to do that. I want, or same day start. That's another, I'm sure you get that as well. What is a same day start? So all those conversations, we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And what I really appreciate and learned even about the company now is that I think we are really from an efficiency standpoint, but also I think a lot of doctors are looking for just a solution that kind of meets all of the needs. And instead of having to go out and, okay, I've got to use this aligner system and I've got to use this bracket system, I've got to use this remote monitoring system. And I do believe all of my young docs, they understand the importance of all of it. So they are, it's easy for them to implement in. And what I do like about what you guys are doing is, should a doctor decide that they want to work with you, you really can get it all in one ecosystem, which I think then in turn, when we're looking at efficiencies, just makes it easier if we know that, okay, I can do my aligners here, I can do my brackets here, I can do my retainers here, I can do my remote monitoring. It's all on the same platform. Now I'm training my first team member, second team member, and everybody is working within that system. Over time, like what the advantage that a younger practice has is we don't have the drag of the parachute that an established practice has of trying to change a system. We're implementing it right from the beginning and we're moving forward with it. So I think that's just a fun concept to see that you guys are solving that all within the company and then supporting a doctor should they choose, okay, I think I want to move forward with this right from the beginning. And it really is that this difference of thinking, because you and I have been around for a long time in this industry where you used to think about it's a grad order, it's about the bracket, and it's about you have to, how much does it cost per bracket? And now we're really looking at, I think, ease of system. If I can work with one company that can provide everything that I'm looking for, does this in the long run actually say, when I'm not dialing it down to what is the exact cost of the bracket, but necessarily how much am I going to save over time with efficiency, going back to, again, that value per visit. I think there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah. Value per visit. I think that's a good one. I think that's a more recent metric. I certainly didn't hear that 15 years ago. I think if you think about 20 years ago, we had the twin bracket self-ligating ceramic, and then aligners were new. And of course, they cost a lot more. And I don't remember efficiency being talked about with aligners back then. It was more aesthetics, right? Do you want big, ugly train tracks on your teeth, or do you want clear aligners? And that cost, I think doctors at that time were trying to figure out, and you remember it would be like, okay, if you're going to pick metal, we're going to charge you this amount. And if you pick ceramic, we're going to raise your fee this amount. And if you do aligners, okay, now we're going to, we're going to add this amount. And I think we've moved away from that because of revenue per visit and efficiency and profitability as it relates to efficiency. I don't know that we thought about that then. Maybe we did. And I was a new rep and I was thinking systems, but it's really important that we look at that because I was just in a practice the other day, busy practice, and talking about digital systems. And of course they do aligners and they do some indirect bonding, but more of the traditional indirect bonding. And just talking to doctors about stress and a lot of the appointments that they have and trying to fit patients in. And then you get into, because I've been here this long, ergonomics. My back hurts. And sometimes they think hiring more people is the answer. And then they look at profitability and they go, okay, I'm busy, but I'm struggling on profitability because instead of using the efficiency of the digital systems, they're trying to do it with people. And there's that's not sustainable. And you and I know the turnaround that has happened and the staff, it's hard to get staff, keep staff. There's more turnover than there was before in a lot of practices. So really figuring out a way for these, like you said, there's new practice that's easier. You implement it from the beginning. an existing practice that's really trying to make that change, how do they do that? That's where we can help, because it's not overnight and it's going to take 18 months, especially if you're already doing aligners. Okay, you've got aligners and traditional. If you're trying to implement digital indirect bonding and you expect to see efficiency and profitability within a month or two, it's not going to happen. Yeah. You got to get through, because you're going to have more of your patients traditional bonded that are being seen and they're doing repo appointments. And then you're going to see digital bonded that's going to be spread out, appointments, treatment times more efficient. Maybe use remote monitoring for those patients if you want to space that out even more and continue care and catch things like wire that gets untied. I love that we're thinking this way. I wish everybody saw it this way. Some are easier to convince than others, but when I hear the complaints, my eyes aren't as good and my back's not as good, and then we suggest like, why don't you try digital bonding and we'll help you implement this, then it's, oh, I'd never do that, or I don't know if I want to look into that. So I love that thinking. I hope we continue that. And it's not just new orthodontists, but we have a lot of improvements and efficiencies, and it's going to make the life of everybody easier. The staff, the orthodontist family, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. This has been, I know you and I could just keep going, and it's always fun to talk about things when you've got a passion for it. But as always, we're going to have to start to wrap this up. So, Marylee, if somebody wants to find out more about Solventum, maybe understand how maybe this digital process could work better in their practices, what's going to be the best way that they can get in touch with you guys?
So I'll give you a few ways. First of all, get in touch with your Solventum rep. Most of them are very experienced, have been in the field a while. So if you know your rep, contact your rep. The other way would be, I'll give my email, because I love interacting with orthodontists and staff. Last name is Maendler. So MMAENDLER @solventum.com. If you want to go old school, we have a number and they can connect you with the rep. So 800-423-4588. And I would like to invite anyone. We have a course coming up in Napa at a resort in April 10th and 11th. And so we'll be talking about all these systems, remote monitoring, all the digital implementation, how to differentiate with an aesthetic practice. So everything's going to be in. We're going to do some things on insurance strategies. So that you can go on and follow us, Solventum Orthodontics, on Instagram or whatever social media. So that would be the best ways to get a hold of us.
That's great. This has been just a great time talking with you. And it's fun to get to talk about Solventum as a new startup company, even though it is, still backed by the name that we all know. And I can say, especially being in the industry again for so long with 3MBN, it's still part of the company, which is just a fun thing to be able to see. Yeah. So the way I love to finish up Hey Docs is for my guests to do a little speed round. Are you ready to do the speed round?
I've seen this and I am ready. Yes. It's probably going to be the hardest questions I'm going to answer today, but go ahead.
No, this will be easy. This will be easy. All right. What is one business trend you think more people should be paying attention to?
So I think I know everybody probably says AI, but I think it's really, where does the human fit into this? I heard somebody say on a podcast, human loop. I don't know what that means exactly, but how do we maximize AI for what it can do for us? Data, predicting speed, all of that, but really not forget that humans, especially in our industry, that interaction matters, empathy and reasoning. And you can't lose that. And I think that's in any part of life. I don't want to be talking to a bot in a system. I want to interact with humans. So how do we balance AI and that, keep it human and interactive? And relationships matter so much in this industry.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. All right. How about this one? What is one industry challenge you think will shape the future of your work or our work just within the industry?
I think it's quality of life. Okay. This is something I just started to hear in the last 5 years, especially female orthodontists. I'm tired of bringing homework home and not spending time with my kids. It's life balance, it's quality of life. And how can we maximize systems as a profession? How can we make the profession more sustainable. I think about doctors now, they're not retiring at 50 and 55 like they used to. They want to work, and digital gives them the ability to do that. But I think there's other things that we can do as a profession together. I listen to a lot of your podcasts and hear about all these different technologies and cool things that we're doing to make things available by app and layering things into our website. So how do we do that with the focus of quality of life, making the profession better and better, and stress and all of that? How do we manage that? Because I see, especially like I said, with female orthodontists, they're looking for that solution, but they still want to practice and run a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. All right. And to finish us up, if you could give your younger self, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh boy. All right. I'm gonna flip that if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think because of technology, and I'm talking cell phones and all of this, I think I had better balance in my younger career. I was a runner. I taught aerobics. I went out with friends once a week. My husband and I went on weekend trips. And I say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I'm an empty nester now. I have more time. I don't need to answer every email. I don't need to finish every project and stay up till midnight. I think my younger self would look and tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, hold on. You need to go touch grass, as they say. Go do something to balance this out. So I honestly think I did some things, not everything, but I did some things maybe better back then that I could use that advice today.
Yeah. Oh, I love that flipping switch on that one. That is so true. I'm right there with you. And boy,
Yeah.
what a difference. I think I need to take that advice for myself. So,
Do it.
yeah. This has been just such a pleasure. Thank you for spending your time with us here on Hey Docs. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of listeners being like, I think I need to give them a call.
Give me a call.
Yeah.
I would love, and we're going to be at AAO. So if anybody's going to AAO, stop by. I love talking to any doctor, residents from beyond. I really appreciate the invite here. It's been so much fun.
Yes. All right. Until next time.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.